Now the Celtics gone from 0 to 100 real quick. Unicorn Porzingis on the rise as a great Nick. You better fear the beard. He's my top MVP pick. Lonzo better see it. Dr. Cousins jumpers looking sick. They're tired on the roll and they're back to number one. The Irish got rolled. It looks like we jumped the gun. Grayson Allen dropped a ton without tripping anyone. Calipari's new squad, they be looking too young. College hoops underway and we might just have a shocker. Yeah, that's right. Wichita could earn a Final Four locker. Tom Brady still slinging TDs from his walker. LeBron be shutting up the mouth of every trash talker. What's up, everybody? Ball Don't Lie fans. Got another episode for you today, covering a few things. I'm going to focus mainly on basketball today, but I will cover a little bit of NFL and college football because they're quite interesting right now. Earlier, I mentioned Notre Dame. I mentioned Alabama. Alabama is now back to number one, and man, they are rolling people. I mean, they played a nobody. They played, Mercer, I think, or some nobody school, and they won big time. I think they should have been number one when the college football rankings first came out, the playoff rankings. They're just a great football team, and really right now, I don't see too many teams that could really challenge them. They're great, but they do have a great game coming up this next week against Auburn. Watch that game because that should be a really great game. The Iron Bowl, it's going to be huge. Two really physical teams. Auburn absolutely crushed Georgia, who everyone thought would be Alabama's challenger this year. Georgia got hammered by Auburn last week. This week, Georgia won, Auburn won, but we got the Iron Bowl coming up, so watch that game. Also, Notre Dame last week were number 3. I already thought they were overranked, but they played Miami and they got hammered. Miami was phenomenal in that game, destroyed Notre Dame. But I don't know, because I thought the Irish were overrated last week and Miami rolled them, I'm probably going to get criticized for this, but I'm still not sold on Miami quite yet because I have to see them play against Clemson in that ACC title game. They've beat a really good Notre Dame team. They've beat a couple other decent squads. They had a tough time against Virginia this weekend, but I just got to see Miami play Clemson first before I'm sold that they should be in the playoff because I thought Notre Dame was overrated to begin with, and them crushing Notre Dame doesn't really tell me a lot. I could be wrong. Great college football though going on, especially this upcoming week. We've got the Apple Cup with Washington and Washington State. That should be really good. But college football is really winding down the regular season. You know, there's a lot of things going on in college football. UCLA just fired their head coach. They've been struggling. They just lost to USC this weekend. And they'll come out again on Tuesday, the new rankings. But looking at this past week's rankings, there's a couple teams that still have a shot. I think Ohio State's still got a little bit of a shot. Oklahoma definitely deserves to be in that top 4. Maybe they should be number 2 or 3. But I love Clemson. I think they'll make the playoff. The loser of Clemson and Miami, I think, is out. Alabama will probably play Georgia in that SEC title game. Given that Alabama was undefeated going into that after beating Auburn, they should be in the playoff as well. USC still could be a sleeper. I still don't think that they'll be in. They could beat Washington in that conference title game and maybe squeak in, but I don't see it happening. But Ohio State, I think, still has a shot. I think Notre Dame's done. Georgia's got some work to do. They gotta be Alabama to get in. Other than that, I don't think any other team really has a shot. However, if you look at not the Power 5 conference, the group of 5 teams, there's a couple teams fighting for that New Year's 6 bowl game. One of them is UCF, who's undefeated right now. They're ranked 15th in the country. And then the other team is Memphis, who's also battling for that. And then Boise State has also been thrown in the mix, who just destroyed Air Force yesterday. So those 3 teams will be battling it out. UCF will probably get it. They're playing really good football. Other than that, it's obviously Alabama. Alabama's number 1, Clemson number 2, Miami 3, and Oklahoma 4. Wisconsin, though, is still being forgotten. They just beat a decent Michigan team. Wisconsin, if they win out, a lot of people believe they'll be in. I think definitely if they win out, they're in because they would have to beat Ohio State in that conference Big Ten championship game. And if they beat Ohio State, who's a contender, they should be in. They have to be in because I think the loser of Clemson and Miami is out. So it's one of those teams that will be in. Wisconsin, I think, controls their own destiny there. Auburn, I think, can squeak in, especially if they beat Alabama. I think Auburn could be in that playoff. Keep tuning into college football. It's going to be great. Moving on into professional football. Still kind of bored with the season in professional football in the NFL. Patriots still dominating. The Bills benched Tyrod Taylor. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous because Tyrod Taylor, I think, is still pretty good. Yeah, he's a little bit inconsistent, but started a rookie over him who I don't think is that great. great. So that was an interesting move. The Steelers looked really, really good against Tennessee. I think it was just the Steelers playing really well. I don't think the Titans are that bad. But I think the Jaguars control their destiny in that division. I think they'll win that division. But both of those teams are benefiting from Deshaun Watson being out for the Texans and Andrew Luck being out for the Colts. If that weren't the case, it'd be a different story, I think, in the AFC South. The AFC West, the Broncos are struggling. Chargers are 3-6 as well. The Raiders still have got a shot. Like I said earlier in the season, they struggled to start out, but they still have a shot at that wild card. I think the Chiefs are going to end up winning that division fairly easily. But then moving to the NFC is the best team in the NFL with probably my pick for MVP in Carson Wentz. He's been a stud this year. Eagles are absolutely trashing everyone this season. So the Eagles, big matchup with the Cowboys this weekend. The Giants lost to a 0-9 49ers team last week. The Giants are awful. The Vikings and Rams, huge matchup this weekend. The Vikings are really doing well in their division, but I still am liking the Lions in that division. I think the Vikings will make the playoffs, but the Lions are definitely going to make a run for that division, I think. The Saints and the Panthers battling it out in the NFC South. The Saints have won 7 straight. The Panthers are playing pretty good football. Cam Newton's looking a little bit more like the MVP Cam Newton. And then in the NFC West, it's the Rams and the Seahawks, but the Seahawks without Richard Sherman, a lot of people think are done. I disagree. I still think the Seahawks could win that division. And also the Seahawks, I think, are definitely going to make the playoffs because they're the Seattle Seahawks and they could make noise in the playoffs. But the Rams have really been the surprise. They're super good this year. They lead the entire league in point differential by 30. They're plus 134. The Eagles are second best at 104. So the Rams really showing a lot of good things this season in their young team with Jared Goff and Gurley leading them on the offensive side of the ball. But shifting to basketball, the great sport of basketball, the NBA is starting to kind of show who are the legit squads now. And really, Boston has gone 0-100 real quick. They lost their first 2 games. They lost Gordon Hayward. Now they've won 15 straight. And really, like I said before, that injury to Gordon Hayward, gruesome as it was, as bad as it was, ended up being a good thing right now for the Celtics in the way that their 2 young guys in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can really grow. And Brown's a stud. I think he could be a future all-star, as well as Jason Tatum, who I think is the most NBA-ready rookie in the league. Ben Simmons obviously is leading the Rookie of the Year race right now. He's been crazy good, getting a couple triple-doubles, scoring almost 20 points a game, getting a lot of assists. I love Ben Simmons. But Jason Tatum seems like the most NBA-ready player. He's just so polished. He's got a great offensive game. He's a decent defender. He's long. The Celtics' length is tough for people. But again, they have really, really been playing well with these young guys. And Kyrie is balling. That dude is a bad man. He is so good. His handles are some of the best I've ever seen. But what I like about him is his playmaking has really gotten better since this move to Boston. His playmaking has been so good, setting other people up. Him and Al Horford have a pretty nasty pick and roll, pick and pop game. And Al Horford's really been key to that team as well, playing really good defense down low, as well as scoring some points for them. The Pistons were 10-3, but they've lost a couple in a row. I kind of figured that would happen. The Pistons are still a decent team. I think they'll make the playoffs. The Raptors are starting to play really good basketball right now, actually, and I like that for them because I think they need to start challenging people in the East rather than just getting that 4 seed and losing in the second round or getting swept by the Cavs every year like they have been. The Wizards, I'm confused. Confused about the Washington Wizards. I just think they're super inconsistent. Not sure what to think of them. John Wall and Bradley Beal, Otto Porter are great, but the rest of their squad just doesn't have too much consistency, especially off the bench. Their bench is very poor. Cleveland Cavaliers, though, told everyone to not worry about them. They are now up to number 5 in the East. They're just fine. They're 9-7. They've won 4 straight. LeBron is on a roll. I'm telling you, he shuts up the trash talkers. This league does not need LeBron to have more motivation than he already has. I mean, he's lost to the Warriors twice. He wants to beat them. He's already motivated. And yet people like Bradley Beal and Enes Kanter keep egging him on. Kanter was, talking crap to LeBron. And after LeBron had already beat him, Kanter was like, we don't care if anyone calls themselves a king, a queen, or princess or whatever. And LeBron responded being like, yeah, I'm the king, my wife's the queen, and my daughter's the princess, so we've got it all covered. LeBron just shuts up the critics, he shuts up the trash talkers, and he dominates those who talk trash to him. So if I were Enes Kanter, I'd really shut his mouth. But the Knicks, granted, have been playing pretty well, and Porzingis, the unicorn as they call him, has been awesome. He's so good. He's averaging almost 30 a game. He's been super, super strong. The thing about Porzingis, too, I think he's a decent leader for them. He's got this attitude I really like about him. him. He wants to beat people. He really wants to be the man in New York, and I like that. He just doesn't have too much of a supporting cast, so I'm still not sure if the Knicks will make the playoffs. They're 8-7 right now, which is surprising, but I'm still not sure about them. The Magic, who were 8-4, and everyone was freaking out about saying, oh, the Magic are legit this year, have lost 4 straight. Granted, they played some decent teams, but still not sold on the Magic. Still not sure if they'll make the playoffs, but the Pacers are okay. The Heat are starting to play pretty good basketball too. I think they're very up and down. I think they need some consistency from the offensive end from Waiters and Dragic and Whiteside. But the Hornets have struggled more than I thought they would. I thought the Hornets would be a playoff contender. The Bucks are 8-7. Again, still not sold on them, but Bledsoe does really help them. Antetokounmpo still does not have a jump shot, guys. Just sorry to break that to you, but until he gets a jump shot, the Bucks are not going to be one of the elite teams in the league. He's just got to get that down. He doesn't take a lot of jumpers, but that's because he can't really make them. He's really got to improve that. But the team I am sold on, not only this year, but for the future, is the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're a phenomenal team. But in the future, if I were LeBron, I would be eyeing these guys because they've got a ton of cap space coming up. They've got kind of the guys that I think would fit really well around LeBron. I think LeBron could develop Ben Simmons into a LeBron-like player. Ben Simmons and LeBron coming at you would be a nightmare for any team, as well as Joel Embiid, who's super good. He is such a good big man, one of the best in the league, if not the best. They've got Robert Covington, who's a 3-and-D player. He just signed a contract extension worth $62 million, so good for him. He went from making $1 million a year to $15 million a year. That's quite the raise for him. But then he's got a player like other players that he's had before. When he was at the Heat, he had what? Ray Allen and Shane Battier. 3-point shooters, spot up 3-point shooters. Oh, he also had Mike Miller in Miami. Then in Cleveland, he's had Kyle Korver. He's had guys like that who are just spot up shooters. Who did the 76ers have? JJ Redick, a spot-up shooter. If they can hang on to him next year, get him for a little bit less money, they've got salary cap space, sign LeBron, 76ers I think would win the East. But another team that's obviously a possibility for LeBron James is the Knicks because of Kristaps Porzingis and his rise. That would be an interesting team as well. But like I said, the 76ers have got a great future ahead of them. Even if LeBron doesn't go there, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the East regardless. They should be really good. In the West, the Houston Rockets holding down the #1 spot right now. They're playing really good basketball. The Warriors are playing really well also. They were down by like 20, I think 22 at half against the Sixers the other night, and they came back and ended up beating the Sixers. I mean, their offense just caught fire. Curry got buckets, Durant got buckets. So the Warriors still doing great, but the Rockets I think have been, to me, a little bit of a surprise. But it's interesting with Chris Paul coming back. I think he doesn't ruin their flow. He kind of messes with it just a little bit because he's a different player and he's new. The Rockets team that they have now is very similar to what they had last year, so that's why they've been able to be so successful because, you know, they've had that chemistry going and they've been playing kind of that same basketball. But with Chris Paul back in the lineup, it's going to be a little bit different for them. The Rockets are playing really great. James Harden is easily my MVP leader right now. He is tearing it up, leading the league in points and assists. So James Harden really has been killing it, averaging 31.6 points per game, 9.9 assists per game. He is just killing it. No one can guard him. He's got that nice jumper. He's got this Euro step, which he traveled really bad the other day. It was actually pretty funny. Really nice 3 or 4 step Euro they didn't get called for. Minnesota's also pretty decent. They've won 3 straight. They're 10-5. I like them. They've got a good team, especially coming for the future. Spurs are 10-6. They're overachieving without Kawhi Leonard. I mean, to be 10-6 without your best player is pretty darn good. And give credit to Popovich and to his young guys. The Nuggets 9-6. Trailblazers 9-7. Pelicans 8-8. I think they actually can compete for a playoff spot this year because of Davis and Cousins, who both average about 27 a game. They're both playing super good basketball. Grizzlies 7-8. I don't think they'll end up having enough offensive firepower to get in the playoffs this year. The Jazz been struggling, but they got a nice win, dominating the Magic the other night. They played really, really good basketball. The Thunder were up about 23 points on San Antonio the other night. San Antonio came back and beat them. The Thunder just not performing very well in the clutch. Their defense still is playing really, really well, but their offense just can't seem to stay consistent. Their defense is second best in the league. I think they're 20th on offense, which is, unprecedented, especially considering who they have with Carmelo, Paul George, and Westbrook. People thought their offense was going to be able to compete with the Warriors, but their offense has not been doing well at all. OKC's got to pull it together on the offensive end. They've got to figure out a flow, which they have not been able to do. Other teams like the Lakers are exciting to watch, but if you're expecting a win from them, you're probably going to get let down. Lonzo Ball is really having a rough season. He does well passing the ball and rebounding, getting other people involved, but he's not aggressive enough. His jump shot is ugly. ugly. That's what I was saying in my rap, is this dude needs to go see a shot doctor because he needs to fix that jumper. And they're not going to do it in the middle of the season. Magic Johnson mentioned that. I understand that. But if he keeps shooting like this, he's not going to be able to see his three-point percentage increase. I know we've seen other players like Shawn Marion who have ugly jump shots be successful, but Lonzo's is not good. He needs to fix that in the offseason coming up. Kyle Kuzma had a breakout game. He had 30 points the other night. He's doing really well. The Lakers are one of those other destinations people think LeBron could go to. I don't think that's smart for him. They're young and they're talented, but I'm not sure if they're the best option for him because I'm just not ready to say Lonzo Ball is going to be great yet. I think he's good and he's got a lot of potential, but he's got to be able to shoot the ball first because right now people are laying off of him and let him shoot those jump shots and he's not knocking them down. And LeBron needs guys to knock down jumpers for that move for him to go to Los Angeles. So NBA is starting to kind of spread itself out. It's finally starting to come into play. Pictures starting to form right now. So it's really exciting to watch this season. There's been some crazy games, some crazy things happening in the standings early in the year, but now we finally see the Rockets and Warriors pulling themselves out ahead of the pack in the West. The Celtics winning 15 in a row. I'm going to make one more argument about the Celtics before I move on to college basketball. The Boston Celtics still, in my opinion, cannot beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 7-game series. Do I think they'll make the Eastern Conference Finals? Absolutely. 100%. I'm saying the Celtics will make the Eastern Conference Finals because their defense is so good. However, who on their team can guard LeBron James? Nobody. LeBron's 6'8", 260 pounds. Brown and Tatum are decent, good, long defenders, but they're not very big, and LeBron is so much bigger and stronger, and he's shown, as he did against the Wizards a week or two ago, his post game is really good now. They cannot guard him in the post. I don't think anyone can guard him, especially the Celtics, have to go up against Isaiah Thomas. If he's back with the Cavs, it's going to be hard to defend the Cavaliers. I think they're just going to put up too many points for the Celtics to be able to hang with them. I think they could maybe take it to 6 games or so, but they would not win a 7-game series against the Cavs still. I just still don't think they can beat LeBron James right now. He's too good in the post. He's too big for their guys. I think if they had Hayward, I would give them a chance to beat the Cavs, but right now, I don't give them a chance to beat them in a 7-game series. They're a great regular season team right now. 15 in a row is very impressive. Was not expecting that, but I'm still not ready to say that they would beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now moving on to super exciting stuff in college basketball. I really hope you guys watched the Champions Classic the other night, this last week, with Duke versus Michigan State, 1 versus 2 matchup, and then a 4 versus 7 matchup with Kansas and Kentucky, because that was awesome. That was so fun to watch. Grayson Allen, guys, he is legit. He put up 37 points on Michigan State. He dominated. He played super, super good basketball. Love Grayson Allen. I think this season's going to be different for him because Grayson Allen, I think, he's going to keep his emotions in control. He's now playing with some other more athletic guys, a true point guard, so he doesn't have to be that guard to bring the ball up all the time. It takes some pressure off him, lets him be more of a wing, which is his position, and he can just sit around that three-point line and stroke threes all day. And they've got height with Marvin Bagley and Wendell Carter. They're super long, athletic, got some good shooters. Duke's going to be really tough to beat this year, but I like Michigan State as well. They've got some nice beef inside. Miles Bridges could win Player of the Year. He's really good. Arizona's impressive. Kansas, they're experienced, but I don't think they have a guy who's going to go out and score 25 from in a tournament game when they're struggling to score the basketball. Villanova, I think, will be still pretty good. Wichita State is one of my picks to get to the Final Four. I love their coach, Greg Marshall. He's really good. Landry Shamet is super good for Wichita State. He's leading them. Kentucky, they're too young for me. They've got a bunch of young freshmen. This is Calipari's youngest squad he's had. A lot of freshmen, couple sophomores. But watching them against Kansas, who's not a high-powered offense, Kentucky only put up 61 points on them, and it was because they do not have a guy that can go out and score for them like they did last year, like De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk last year. Were able to put up, 30 points if they had to, 25 points if they have to. This season, they don't have that guy. Knox is decent. He can get hot from behind the arc, but other than that, they don't have enough. Gabriel's not good enough. Their guards aren't good enough. I think Kentucky's going to struggle this season to win the SEC because I like what I'm seeing from Florida, who's really good. North Carolina will be great as soon as they get Joel Berry back. If you didn't hear about him, before the season, he broke his hand because he got too ticked off playing 2K, which is pretty funny. The college basketball season is really, really going to be fun fun this season because I think this season it's anyone's to win, except for Duke seems to be the best team by a little ways, but I think Michigan State could beat them in a tournament setting. Man, it's just fun. Cincinnati, I think, could really compete as well because their defense is strong and they're showing this season they actually can score rather than just hold their opponent to 50 points, which will really help them. Gonzaga and St. Mary's will be a great matchup in the WCC. I want to talk real quick just before I finish about the UCLA incident. Lonzo Ball's little brother LiAngelo was in China with the team. They were playing Georgia Tech for their season opener. They got caught for shoplifting, got arrested in China, were possibly facing 3 to 10 years in prison. Long story short, they got out, but they got suspended indefinitely, which is kind of interesting. I think they should be suspended longer than that. I would give them half a season maybe because, you go overseas, you're representing not only your university, but you're representing college basketball as a whole. You're representing the game of basketball and you're representing the U.S. And you go and you steal, you get caught stealing. Man, and UCLA's been struggling since then. They played Central Arkansas, only won by 5 in overtime, which is kind of pathetic. So UCLA, I think, is going to be not very good this season, obviously compared to last season, but I think even compared to their expectations this year, I'm not sure they're a top 25 team. Alabama, I think, will be really good, especially when they have Sexton back. He'll be pretty good for them. They've got a really good team coached by Avery Johnson, little man Avery Johnson. Again, I'm picking Duke to win the national title so far, but my other teams in the Final Four, I'll throw Michigan State in, I'll throw Arizona in, and I'll throw Wichita State in for the Final Four picks so far. It's obviously early. Anything can happen between then. I think Villanova could make the Elite Eight. Kansas could make the Elite Eight. Florida and North Carolina could make the Elite Eight. Great college basketball season. Keep tuning in. Thanksgiving week has got some good tournaments going on. The PK80, it's kind of their inaugural season, which will be really fun to watch. So tune into that. If you're not watching football, I'll probably be watching that instead of the NFL because the NFL kind of bores me right now. Keep tuning into sports, guys. Watch sports. Watch Ball Don't Lie. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Do whatever you got to do. Send a clip to ESPN. Give me a job at ESPN. That'd be pretty awesome too. Thanks for tuning in. This is Ball Don't Lie, episode 5. Keep it real, and thanks for watching.